officer 50.
Yeah, TEKASHI69.
Now, Tekashi, that's a different story. But I kind of, with Tekashi is a little different because he just comes from a generation that really didn't have no moral ethic. This generation is nothing like our generation coming up. Like our generation, we had rules. There were certain boundaries that we don't cross. There was a certain line of respect that we had for each other. There was always a level of selfishness that we just only kept to ourselves. Like we never gave up each other for our own freedom because we're expecting him to do the same for us.
Right.
Now with Tekashi is a little different. Like I can't really speak on why he would do that. But most likely it's for the obvious reasons. But everyone goes through something in their life that propels them to do things that they feel is in the best interest of themselves. And I think you really can't blame him if what he's saying is the truth. Now, granted, there's this big rule that you never talk to the cops, you never speak to the police, you don't rat. I get it. But at the end of the day, if it's true and he said it, it is what it is. Now, if you feel some kind of way that he said it, that's a personal problem that y'all got to deal with, according to what y'all decided the rules were. Now, the question is, had he not said it, with the people he didn't say it for, back him, protect him, or do the same for him? There's some people in my life, I would, no matter what, I would never roll over for, because I know what they represent in me, and I know if anything happened to me, where they would stand. But then there's some people in my life, if something happened to me, do I depend on them to take care of my family? Absolutely not. So why am I loyal to you?
Yeah.
So everybody has a purpose and a reason of why they would do things. So that's why I'm not so quick to judge him, because I don't know exactly what is happening behind closed doors that may not be explained or may not be out to the public to know. It's some information that just still to this day is still answering questions. But as a man, you can only respect somebody that does what they think is the best for them and their families. But at the same time, you got to also know who you're in business with if you're going to do something illegal. If you choose to do something with someone that's not valued in a legal or illegal way,
You need to know what's coming.
You got to know. It's like a soldier. If you out in the field, I'm going to pair it with somebody I know that's going to back me up if I get surrounded by a whole bunch of rebels.
Yeah.
If I choose the wrong man, that's my fault. I should know every trooper, every soldier around me to know who, what their capabilities are. I'm not going to get into a war battle without some soldiers. I don't know their background or their intentions.
I hear you.
So you can only blame the ones that chose him.
What's good, people? Smash that like button before we get cooking. Wow, so we just heard there from Akon. I ain't seen him in the hottest minute. God knows what he's been doing. Anyway, let's cut to it. Listen, Akon, I've got to be honest, out of everyone, out of all these wannabe, oh man, I'm a non-true, out of all these wannabe ass looking gangster dudes who, oh man, Tekashi a snitch, if I see Tekashi, we gon' catch the fade. Yeah, man, he broke code. He wasn't on code. Tekashi's not on code. Tekashi better have security. Tekashi can't come back to the streets. Everyone fronting like they're gonna do something. I guarantee you this, I told you one before already. When Tekashi comes back to road, not one of them wannabe gangster looking ass dudes like Snoop or any of them man there will do a damn thing. The game, none of them, man. They'll do nothing. I'll tell you why they'll do nothing. Because they know if they do anything, the feds will slap a case on them and they'll be going back to jail unless they pull a Jim Jones. They just start informing themselves. And that's the kicker here. All these wannabe road dons, all these wannabe, I'm a non-trade player, all these rich rappers who want to be gangsters, who want to be roadmen, when it comes to it, they'll do absolutely nothing. They'll do nothing, never. What they want to do is they want to give it the front. They want to give it the rep. And it's quite embarrassing, you know. We've got this, I feel that the younger generation actually have it on point, meaning that look at our younger up-and-coming rappers. They're not so much, they're not trying to be something they ain't. Well, some of the fruitier ones aren't trying to be something they ain't. They're kind of just doing what they're doing. The older ones still want to try and make out that there's something they're not. Even Akon here, like I said, Akon to me was pretty he was pretty on point out of everyone. He wasn't trying to be gangster and saying, "Oh man, I'm gonna cap Tekashi." He wasn't coming with that. I think he was quite fair actually. He gave Tekashi some pointers. Like he didn't just suck Tekashi off, but he was fair. He said that he probably shouldn't have done that, but then again, we don't know how what his crew were doing. And that's a fair. You can't argue with that analysis. You can't argue with that evaluation of the situation. I agree. You don't know what situation he's in. When you're facing 50 years, let's see what you're doing. And that's my problem here. And there's very few people in the rap game or the hip hop game who've ever faced a 50 bid. And it's not only a 50 bid. You got to remember, 6ix9ine weren't coming up against a case which was weak. We were talking about a federal case here. Feds don't. I think it's something like 99%. Only 1 in 100 cases do the feds lose. And you got to remember, it's all on tape. They had all the evidence. It's not. He wasn't coming up against a 50 bid and it was like, oh well, it could go either way. This was clear cut. He was going jail 50 years otherwise. Now, how many people in the rap game can really say they was facing that? None of them. So until you've walked in his shoes, especially at 20 years old as well, it's not even like he could have been a 30, 40-year-old man and experienced. That's not even the case. Not even a bit near 50 years old. 20-year-old young Mexican Don. Anyway, and actually, scrap experience, what do we know? Jamel Jones, yeah? One of 6ix9ine's co-conspirators. The big, "Oh man, I'm a 9 Trey blood. I'm a 9 Trey gangster. Oh, my name's Jamel Jones. My name's Mel Murder." He was given it, Mel Murder was so-called the 9 Trey OG. What do we know? The 9 Trey OG gets his bid, I think he got 12 years, and he's begging the judge for leniency. "Oh, Judge, I'm sorry, Judge. I want to go back to my kids. I've realised the streets ain't what it's cracked up to be." So even the OG, never mind 6ix9ine at 20 years old and new to it, he was following blindly, essentially. The big 9 Trey blood, the big OG, he denounced the gang culture. So you got all these wannabe rappers, wannabe street dudes running around like Chris Brown and Soulja Boy trying to be street, but you've got the real, or even Mel Murder ain't really the real one, but then you've got a real one, a half real one, who's in jail and he's denouncing the street culture. He's saying he don't want to be in the streets no more, and that's the problem here. People want to be in the streets. Chris Brown wants to be in the streets whilst he's on the road. Put him in the court with a 50 bid over his head, and he'll be down there even quicker than Mel Murder was. "Oh, Judge, I'm sorry. Please, Judge. All of a sudden, Mel Murder went from the 9 Trey OG to talking about how he didn't even know. "Oh, I was never part of the 9 Treys. I was never part of the 9 Treys blood. I was never part of the 9 Treys, Judge. I want to go back to my family." All of a sudden, what happened? Where was all the street code at? Same as Shotty. Shotty was giving it. "Treyway, we don't bend, we don't break." He found it all funny at the start. Naively, he found it funny. 2 2s. He gets his bid down. Yeah. Judge 6ix9ine sends his sentence down. All of a sudden, my man's crying in the court. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd be crying as well. The difference is, I wouldn't be sitting acting the fool at the start of this situation, talking about it's Treyway. "We don't bend, we don't break, it's Treyway." A lot of these people, Chris Brown and even 6ix9ine, they don't understand the depth of the situation they're in. These feds ain't joking. That's all they do all day. They do this all day. That's their game. They sit there on social media waiting to catch a nigga slipping out here. 100%. And that's what happened. Mel Murder, the whole of the 9 Treys got caught lacking. They got caught on the 6 lack. 100%. Anyway, let's go into what Akon had to say here, because I've got a few thoughts to say on what he said. So initially, he starts off by saying the generations are different, like I've already mentioned in this video already. This whole "oh man, yeah man, our generation was different." No, it wasn't. Your generation was full of snitches the same way. I exposed it a few days ago myself. What do we know? Snoop Dogg a dog. 6ix9ine's a snitch. Martha Stewart this. My man Snoop going on about Martha Stewart did this. Martha Stewart's a real one. Well, you weren't a real one, yeah? When Suge and his goons turned up and put it on you, you ran to the feds and thanked them. I've exposed it. It's there. The receipts are there. Yeah? Your boy, Snoop Doggy Dog, when Suge came through and put it on you with his goons, 4 against 3, 4 of Suge's goons pulled up, Snoop rang to the feds and said, "Oh, I'm so thankful that I ran into you. So I'm so thankful y'all was here to help me." And then He went back to the station and started talking about how Suge was the one who killed Tupac. That's what he did. And then all of a sudden now, your dude Snoop, oh man, I'm West Coast, I'm West Side. This dude Snoop all of a sudden forgot history, and he's the one now trolling a 20-year-old. When you was 20 years old, you was copying pleas and doing all sorts. Sugar already done exposed you, Snoopy. Snoop's, I'll be honest with you, Snoop's way too skinny for jail. He ain't made for jail. That arse will be someone, I'm telling you now, that arse will be someone's in there. No word of a lie. Snoop, back in when he's 20s, he was looking pretty. Too skinny, that arse was, I'm telling you now, that there is going to be one of the sisters. No word of a lie. Snoop will end up being a sister if he goes jail. They'll turn him into a sister. 100%. He'll be known as, never mind Snoop Dogg, he'll be known as Sister Dogg. Oh my, my name is Sister Dogg. That's what he'll come out. He'll go into jail as Snoop Dogg and he'll come out as Sister Dogg. 100%. Anyway, that now I've shut down that whole generations are different. All generations are the same. When you're facing a 50 bid, there's no amount of generations or anything. We've seen the most gangsters of most gangsters end up flipping. Maybe, I tell you actually, maybe back in the 20s, maybe back in the 1920s when you had the proper gangsters, maybe then. But even then there was some turncoats. People don't really want to do time. And that's why I watched a John Gotti documentary recently. And one of John Gotti's rules was, I don't have anyone in my crew unless I know they've been to jail before, unless I know they've done some decent time. And 2-2s, as it happened, for those of you who are aware of the John Gotti and Sammy, the Bull Gravano situation, as it happened was, John Gotti paired up with Sammy Gravano as his underboss, and it happened that Sammy Gravano, who ended up snitching on John Gotti, that was the first guy John Gotti paired up with who hadn't spent a day in jail. And that's the point. There's a good moral. And that's there where Mel Murder got caught lacking. And that's a good strategy there. Only team up with people who you know have done time, because then you know, or you've got a higher probability. You know what? He's not going to get scared when the sentence is above his head. And so what do we know about 6ix9ine? 6ix9ine, he had never done no time before. They should have known better. I'm not being funny. What is you doing? The big Iron Tray OG. What are you doing taking orders from a dude with pink hair? That there is an L. That is there is the ultimate L. Taking orders off of the dude with pink hair. What do you expect? In fact, I heard the reason the whole of the 9 Trays got sent to jail was because God was disgusted. God was thinking, what are you man thinking? You man need to go to jail to start analysing your life. What are you doing taking orders off of a 19-year-old Don with pink hair? Yeah, sort yourself out. Go and sit down for 10 years and think about it. That's what they need to be doing. Never mind begging the judge for leniency. Anyway, the next thing that Akon says is that he can't really go against 6ix9ine because Tekashi was telling the truth, and that's one of my things as well. If you do a crime, if you're involved in business, if you're involved in pagan business, if you're involved in demon business, doing badness, yeah? Because the bottom line is drug dealing, even though it's supply and demand, I agree with that, but the bottom line is you are ruining people's lives. Yes, they're ruining their own lives, but you're helping them, yeah? If I give you a gun and you go and lie up a whole load of people, in my opinion, you're involved. You are somewhat responsible to an extent. Not fully responsible, but you have a level of responsibility there. So with that in mind, these 9 Trays were selling drugs and people's children and fathers and daughters were taking them. Yeah? So when 6ix9ine end up snitching, and I don't actually believe 6ix9ine was the one selling drugs and doing the badness. He weren't the one letting shots off. He weren't the one doing the actual footwork. So in that respect, did the 9 Trays expect 6ix9ine to go to jail for shootings and drug dealing, which he didn't do? That don't make no sense to me. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people say that 6ix9ine ordered someone to be shot. Well, if I tell you to jump off a bridge and you go and do it, I'm not being funny. That there's more on your responsibility. Yes, 6ix9ine has a level of responsibility, but you have more responsibility. If I tell you this for free, listen. If a 19-year-old Don with pink and yellow and purple hair comes up to me and says, "Go and shoot this man," I'll look at him silly and say, "You mad?" and tell him to get out of it. That's what I would have done. Instead, these men ran around and ended up doing it. I'm sorry, but that's their stupidity. They need to go and sit down and reevaluate their mind state, because clearly they don't need to be in. They're not responsible. They're not responsible citizens. Simple as that. They're not. No word of a lie. Not a bit responsible. That said, neither is 6ix9ine. He needs to sit down for a hot sec as well and reflect. But I do put responsibility on the shooters, the people who are actually doing it. Because I don't believe, whether 6ix9ine gives an order out or not, I don't believe he would have done it himself. Does that make sense? It's easy to give the order. Therefore, if they hadn't have done it, it wouldn't have been done. Bottom line. Next thing. Akon says that, he talks about how, oh yeah, well, there's some people I'd never rat on. And that's well and good, but like I said before, Akon's never been there with a 50 bid hanging over him. It's easy to say, oh well, there's some people I'd never rat on. Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe there are some people like that, but let's see, first of all, let's see you in that situation and then evaluate it. It's easy when you're free and you're nowhere near a federal indictment, you're nowhere near a federal sentence. It's easy to sit there and say, oh yeah, man, my day ones, I'm never going to snitch. Let's realistically actually put you up to the rest of your life in jail, and then we'll see who's really doing what. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some real ones. Bobby Shmurda, for example, he appears to be a good real one. 10 years, but even then, 10 years and 50 years is a big difference. 10 years is somewhat manageable. 20 to 30, you know what, I can do that. 50, 47, it's a different ball league completely. Even 20 and 50 is a different ball league, and 47 is what 6ix9ine was looking at, and that ain't no joke. Now he probably wouldn't have got that. He probably would only get 10 or 15, but still, when you're a dude with pink hair and you're messing around, running around the place with cartoons, he ain't looking to do no real time. Now, the last thing that Akon says, which I want to talk about, is that he says that you've got to know who you're doing business with. And that's another thing that not a lot of these youth really think about. If you're going into business, if you're going into illegal business, you've got to make sure the people you're involving yourself with are 100. Like I mentioned, John Gotti. Associate with people who have been to jail. Then you know what, if it comes to it, I know my man can hold it down. I know my man's got morals. You didn't know that with 6ix9ine. He ain't doing no time. Not only that, look at their character. Did 6ix9ine, bearing in mind the 9 trays, they're meant to be the criminal element. They're meant to know what they're doing. As an example, don't take orders off of a dude with pink hair. That's the first thing I'd have been thinking. But more specifically, just look at the people you're dealing with. Did 6ix9ine look like a man who was going to hold it down? I don't think so. I don't know what would give you that impression. Besides, more importantly, in fact, you should be. This man was in music, making millions of dollars, the hottest artist in the world. What was you doing, trying to bring him down to that level? And that's another reason why I don't think 6ix9ine should be in jail much longer. I think that we've already seen, before he got taken in, we already saw his lifestyle change massively. He cut them all off. He realised then, you know what, it's not a joke no more. I'm out of here. And I think he actually learnt his lesson. But that said, I think this year and a half has been good for him. I think that's done him good. I do actually think he's learnt his lesson now. Let's see how it works out on the outside. He's getting out in December. I believe he's going to keep it a trill now, and he'll be smarter now. I think he's got it. He's got the message. However, these 9 trays, they clearly didn't get the message. Harv and not so much Shotty, but Harv and Mel Murder. Mel Murder and Jim Jones, 50-year-old men, were on the phone talking about super violating people. Now, if you're 50 years old and you've been to jail before and you still don't get it, that tells me you don't need a second chance. You're done. 6ix9ine, on the other hand, he deserves a second chance. Yeah, he'd already cut them all off. Not to mention he's only 20 years old. Mel Murder's 50 years old and still ringing people up talking about super violating people. Harv, he's 35 years old, driving around kidnapping people. 6ix9ine didn't kidnap no one. 6ix9ine didn't take no drugs. 6ix9ine didn't shoot no gun. So I'm struggling here. People are saying, oh, he needs to be the one doing 50 years. No, I don't think he does. And besides, his elders, his OGs, rather than bringing him into the foolishness, they should have been telling him, never mind putting a hit on people. You just get in the studio and make tracks. We'll handle the rest. We'll handle what needs to be done on the streets. That's what they could have done. They should have, if anything, they should have kept him away from the madness on the street. Yeah? Saying, you know what, don't even worry yourself with that business. We're going to handle it. Let us do what we do, aka the street stuff, and you do what you do in the studio. Instead, they had him telling them what to do. Well, that's your business then. If he tells you to jump off a cliff and you go and do it, then that's your. What do you want? If he tells you to shoot someone and you go and do it, that's your problem. I'm sorry, that is your issue. You got to deal with, and that's what they're doing now, trying to backtrack. Anyway, overall, I think that Akon was on point here, but He's been out of everyone. He's the most on point. But let's see what happens going forward. Anyway, I'll be intrigued to see how 6ix9ine deals with this. I'm pretty sure he's getting out in December. Let's see how he deals with it. If he goes back and starts doing stupidness again, then that'll be him. But for now, I've got faith he's gonna turn it around. Like, comment, and subscribe.